Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to continue our journey with radicals. We are going to be multiplying and dividing them. You will need your notes, calculator, pen, and pencil. Also, highly recommend your list of perfect squares. You're going to want those out in front of you. Excellent idea, all right? Here we go. Please make sure you write this down, okay? Every slide today you need to make sure you write down. Multiplying radicals. Okay, properties of square roots. You need to make sure that all of whatever underneath your square root is greater than 0. Okay, it has to be 0 or higher. Products property. All this is saying, you guys, is if we have one thing, we can take it and we can separate it, which we've already been doing yesterday. Okay, right? We separated our perfect squares to simplify it. Today we're going to take 2 and we're going to multiply them together. First thing I like to look at when I'm doing this is if I can break down these into perfect squares already. And 10 and 15 are not perfect squares, so what I'm going to do, right here it tells me to multiply. So I'm going to multiply them together. So I'm going to get the square root of 150. Now I have to figure out what is my largest perfect square that can go into 150. Well, my largest perfect square that can go into 150 is 25, and 25 times 6. If I take 25 times 6, I get 150, so I'm good there. 25 is my perfect square. The square root of 25 is 5, so I have 5 times the square root of 6 as my simplified answer after I've multiplied my two radicals together. Moving on, we look at this one. I have 20 times the square root of 20 times 3 times the square root of 10. Now, I know that I can break down 20. There's a perfect square that can go into 20. That perfect square is 4. So I'm going to rewrite this right away. 4 times 5 times, I'm going to keep this over here, 3 square roots of 10. Now, I can separate this. Square root of 4 is 2 times the square root of 5 times 3 square roots of 10. If I do it this way, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my 2 and my 3 together, and I'm going to get 6. And I'm going to multiply my 5 and my 10 together, and I'm going to get 50. Now, if there was no perfect square that can go into 50, I'd be done, but we know that there's a perfect square that goes into 50, so it's going to be 6 times 25 times the square root of 2. 25 is a perfect square, so we're going to rewrite this. 6 times square root of 25 is 5 times the square root of 2. So 6 times 5 is 30. I can't break down the square root of 2, so I'm going to leave it just like this. So I have 30 square roots of 2. All right, moving on to our next example. Ooh, we're done with multiplication. We're moving on to division. Now, in the math world, leaving a square root in the bottom of a fraction is a huge no-no. We can't do it. We can't leave it like that. It's considered unfinished. It's not allowed. So we have to figure out how we're going to get rid of this. First thing, we're going to write this down. Dividing radical properties, square roots. Once again, all of our numbers have to be greater than 0. Our quotient property, which means division property, is that we can separate it, just like we did multiplication. Okay? Each of these can be their own radical. All right, we're going to do 3 examples on division, and we're done. Make sure you get them all in your notes, okay? Here's the first one. Now, we know we can't have the square root on the bottom, so we have to get rid of this. How we're going to do that is we're going to take whatever's on the bottom, we're going to multiply it times the bottom, and we're going to multiply it times the exact same thing on the top. Whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. So when we do that, we're going to get 5 times the square root of 2 all over. 2 times 2 is 4, square root of 4. Now we still have that square root, but 4 is a perfect square, and the perfect square of 4 is 2. So we get 5 square roots of 2 all over 2. And that is our answers, ladies and gentlemen. And we can leave it just like that as a fraction as long as the square root's not in the bottom. Alright, let's try another one. Now, this one, the radical sign's under the whole thing. Now, we can break this apart. So, it's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to take square root of 2 over square root of 15. First thing we want to check is 2 or 15 a perfect square? Check that right away. In this case, neither of them are. So to get rid of this square on the bottom, because that's what we don't like, we need to multiply it on the bottom and on the top. And we're going to get the top, we're going to get square root of 30. The bottom, we're going to get square root of 225. Now we still have that square on the bottom, so we got to take care of that. And the 30, now if we look back, if we go through 30, perfect squared, can 4 go into 30? Nope. Can 9? Nope. 16 can't go in there evenly either. Can 25? So square root of 30 we're going to leave as the square root of 30 because there's nothing else that can go into it. So we'll leave it just like that. Now the square root of 225 is a perfect square, which is 25. So our answer is going to be the square root of 30 over 25. And we'll leave it just like that. Alright, last example for the day. Here we go. We have to get rid of this square root of 6 on the bottom. We don't like it, have to get rid of it. In order to do that, all we have to do, multiply the top and the bottom by square root of 6. On the top, that 2 we have to rewrite. 2 times 6 is 12. And on the bottom we have 6 times 6, which is square root of 36. Now, we have to break down this 12. So I'm going to come over here and do that. I'm going to break down the 12. Perfect square that can go into 12. 4 times 3. Square root of 4 is 2 times the square root of 3. Now all of this needs to replace that square root of 12. So I'm going to rewrite that for us. We're going to have 2 times the square root of 3 all over 36 right here is a perfect square. The perfect square of 36 is 6. Now 2 times 2 equals 4 square roots of 3 all over 6. Now, I will be just fine if you guys leave your answer just like this. But if you want to take it one step further, what goes in the 4 and 6, ladies and gentlemen? Anybody know? 2. So, we can take 4 divided by 2, which would give us 2 square roots of 3. And 2 goes into 6 3 times. So you could also have your answer like this. I am okay with either one, alright? Whatever one you're more comfortable with. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you. I hope you're having a wonderful, fabulous day, and I will see you later. Bye.